right, we're going to start with video number 9 with polynomials here, factoring ax squared trinomials. So what this basically is just a slightly different from what we did with the basic trinomials. We're going to have a number in the front. And because there's going to be a coefficient in the front, we're going to have to change our steps just a little bit with the x. But everything else is still going to be pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and get started with our examples here. And with example number 1 here, we're going to start with a 2x squared plus 11x plus 14. All right, so you're going to start out by making your x. But what is the difference here is you're going to have to multiply the first and the last number. Anytime you have a number right here in the front, you're going to multiply the first and the last. So 2 times 14 is 28. And that's still going to go up on the top. That middle number is still going to go on the bottom. So here, multiply first times last. Okay, so multiply first times last. You're still coming up with what can multiply to give you 28. So 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 3 will not go into 28, 4 will, 4 times 7, 5 will not, 6 will not, and we're right back at 7. And yes, we can do the negatives, but those are not going to serve us any point because this is a positive 11. So we are not going to need the negatives over there. And which one of these adds to be a positive 11? That's going to be 4 and 7. Okay, this is just what you had done before, pretty much. The only difference so far is you had to multiply the first and the last. We are going to take these and put these in parentheses. So x plus 4 and x plus 7. Now, if you notice, x times x will not give us 2x squared. And this is going to be a little bit added step right here for us. You're going to take that coefficient that we have right there, that 2, and you're going to divide each number by that 2. And really what you want to do here is simplify where you can. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, so we're going to have x plus 2. And 7 divided by 2 cannot be simplified, so I'm just going to leave it as 7 over 2. Now still, this is not going to give us x times x is not going to give us 2x squared. Think about it this way. You cannot have a fraction when you factor. So since we cannot have a factor when we fraction, we're going to take this 2 and we're going to swing it up here. You can't leave your man hanging, so we're going to swing him up there. So your answer will be x plus 2 because there's not a fraction here, and 2x plus 7. This right here is factored form. Let's try another one here so we can see that illustrated again. Let's go with 4x squared this time minus 12x plus 5. Okay, make your x. You need to multiply the first and the last numbers. So 4 times 5 is 20. The middle number, negative 12, goes on the bottom. And you want to think about things that can multiply to give you 20. 1 times 20. 2 times 10. 3 will not go into 20. 4 will. 4 and 5. And then we're right back where we started. Now that's a negative 12. So we need to think about our negative options here. So 2 negatives will multiply to give you a positive. So negative 1 times negative 20 will give you that positive right there. So which of these will add to be negative 12? Negative 2 and negative 10. So we're going to still put these in parentheses. X minus 2 and x minus 10. Now let's remember what we need to do here. You've got a 4 in the front, so we need to divide each of these by 4. Okay? Now, you want to always reduce. You always want to reduce it to simplest form. So 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. 10 over 4 They can both be reduced by 2, which will be 5 over 2. Notice both of these still have a fraction. And when you have a fraction like that, you want to remember to take that and swing them up to the front right there in front of that x. So I'm going to end up with a 2x minus 1 and a 2x minus 5. Now, if you had these parentheses switched around, for example, if you had 2x minus 5 and 2x minus 1, those are the same thing. It doesn't matter. What does matter is if your signs are in the appropriate spots. Let's try another one here. So let's start with 6x squared plus 7x minus 20. Okay. Now, some of you will be able to figure out automatically what the numbers that's going to go on the sides. Some of you may need to do a little bit of work on that. All right, so remember you need to take the first and the last and multiply them. So 6 times negative 20 will be negative 120, and that bottom number will be a 7. So things that can multiply to give you negative 120. Now on these, because that's a negative 120, I'm going to do a negative and a positive, well, duh, and then a 1 and a negative 120. So I'm going to switch that negative on each of these. 2 will go into 120 60 times. And then 3 will go into 120 40 times. And you can think about this as just take off that 0 right there. And you can see 4 will go into 12. So how many times does 4 go into 12? 3 times. So that's going to be a 30 then. 5 will go into 120. And it will go in there 24 times. 6 will go into there. And that will be 20 times. 7 will not. 8 will. And that will be 15 times. And then 9 will not, but 10 will. All right, now we're looking to see which one of these adds up to be 7. And since that's a positive 7, I want my negative to be the lower number. So I'm going to really focus in on this side over here. So I'm scanning down through here and seeing which one will give me close to 7. Oh, negative 8 and 15 will give me 7 when I add those together. So I'm going to do a negative 8 and a positive 15. That's what's going to go over here into my parentheses. X minus 8 and x plus 15. All right, and each of these gets divided by 6 because that was the coefficient in the front. Now always reduce. So 6 and 4 can be reduced by 2. 8 and 6 can be reduced by 2. So that will reduce, the 8 will reduce to a 4 and the 6 will reduce to a 3. 15 and 6 will reduce both by a 3, so the 15 becomes a 5 and the 6 becomes a 2. Remember to swing your man up. Goes up there besides the x. So 3x minus 4 and then 2x plus 5. And those are going to be your factors right there. That is pretty much all you need to do with x squared, ax squared kind of problems.